Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, good afternoon from my end. Welcome once again to another beautiful afternoon from my end. I don't know what the weather is like. My name is Lupolu Johnson, and I'm coming to you live this afternoon from the beautiful city of Hamilton, Ontario in Canada. Now, as you know, I'm here every other week with the Liberian Dream series. This is a show that talks about the Liberian Dream, where we talk of creating a society where all citizens, especially the most marginalized citizens in our society, or the most marginalized of our population, can be empowered through their participation. So they don't have to go to a certain school. They don't have to have a certain name. They don't need to belong to a certain class. They don't need to live in a certain part of the country. We should be creating a society where all of our citizens combine, whether it's the child in Ganta, or the child in Plibo, or the child in Banga, or the child in Joploken, or the child in Monrovia, or the child in Carisburg. They all should have a context of feeling empowered in their country because of their participation. Whether it's through making farms, whether it's through laying traps to feed their families, whether it's through selling in the marketplace, whether it's through going to school, whether it's through going to the bush school, whichever way they are participating in our societies should be empowered, should be encouraged for them to feel as if their contribution is just as valuable as anybody else. Now, for those of you who've been following, we talk about a few things already. The first thing when we started, we talk about community-driven solutions, where we basically said nothing about us without us, that we need to move to a place as a country where our solutions, we're not running to conferences in Washington, D.C. and Paris and New York to discuss the solutions of our country, that our solutions are driven by our community innovation. I asked somebody the last time, do you know why when you go to places outside of Monrovia, especially in the hinterland, in the countryside, you hardly see any security or any police or anybody? But do you know why there is still a better semblance of law and order than it is in Monrovia? Do you know why up interior, the people don't have the same sophisticated bathrooms that we built, or so-called sophisticated bathrooms that we built? We struggle with sanitation. Do you know why sanitation is better up in the countryside than in Monrovia? Now, these are the things we should be asking ourselves. We don't need no one to come from New York to help us understand that. We need to be talking to the people in our villages. We need to be talking to the people in our towns to help us understand how come they've lived in these places sometimes for 10, 20, 30 generations, but have still managed to keep it looking clean, more sanitized. The air quality is much better than when you come to Monrovia, where we're killing ourselves with pollution, with carbon dioxide, with overpopulation, with dirt, with garbage everywhere. And we still cannot figure out how to do these simple things. Instead of asking our own people and sitting down and having a discussion about what makes sense for us, we try to go and photocopy it. So the Liberian Dream talks of this opportunity that before we go outside to look for something, let's exhaust all of the options we already have. Because when we do that, we are actually fostering community solutions, community-driven solutions, and everybody in our society, in our communities, will be able to participate. Now, let's get to the core of the matter today. Today, I'm going to be talking about dual citizenship. This debate that has lingered on for so long continues to divide us, and many of us are refusing to go to the root cause of where this is coming from to try and understand. I've made an argument that, in fact, as a country, we do not have a choice. Now, you need to understand one thing, and what we want to talk about first is our story. What is our citizenship story that has landed us to where we are today? Because before you start to understand where we are, it might be great to take a step back. And I like to go back. Our story of citizenship is one that is riddled with the act of exclusion and marginalization rather than inclusion and empowerment. Despite the abundance of everything, we got enough land, we got enough resources, we got enough for all of us to live a decent life on. Yet our story of citizenship since the 1800s have been one that has been riddled with certain group of people always trying to exclude another group of people. With certain group of people always trying to use citizenship as a way of disempowering a certain group of people. Maybe you may have forgotten. This is the same country in Liberia that once upon a time, you were not allowed to vote if you did not own land or real property, as they call it. Maybe we have forgotten. This is a country once upon a time that we subjected women to not have the right to participate in our democracy. Maybe you have forgotten that this is the same country that when we were gaining independence, we wrote a constitution that basically excluded up to 85% of the population and only protected 15% of the population. Maybe we need to take a step back to have a better understanding of what our history of citizenship has been, which is the reason why we find ourselves to where we find ourselves. And that is what I want to dwell in today. Let's go to the 1800s. The arrival of our fellow Africans escaping the scourge of slavery from the United States. And they set up this operation to exclude those they met when they arrived back on the African soil, in this case, Liberia. Now, let me break this news to you today. Before our brothers and sisters arrived from the United States or from the Caribbean to what is now Liberia, there was a robust system of governance. Our people lived there already. They had systems of governance. They had law and order. They were governed by a certain law and order, which we like to call in modern days customary law. But when our brothers and sisters arrived from the United States and the Caribbean and other places escaping slavery, they decided that the only way they could see themselves as equitable members of that society or as superior members of that society was to decimate, destroy what they met in place, almost to erase every semblance, as if Liberia that we know it existed in a vacuum. No, it did not. In fact, there were provinces at the time. And these people were governed. There was rule of law. There was a system of governance. It was not in a vacuum. But let me take it one step further. Let's go to 1979. So after our brothers and sisters came, excluded the native population that they met on the soil, and put a constitution in place that basically protected about 300 families, they managed to carry this on for so long until 1979. Most of you remember the rights demonstration, or people like to call it the rights riot. And this system of governance that was set up was one that subjected our people, destroyed them. But over time, our people started to pour into Monrovia from the hinterland in search of education. And now guess what? Some of them were the smartest that graduated from the University of Liberia then. Some of them outperformed everybody. They came from the university with flying colors, brilliant. However, because they were excluded from our society, even though they have outperformed sometimes everyone in this case, they graduated from university and had to go to West Point to survive. They came up with magna cum laude, summa cum laude, and had to go back to Nikuta and Lokintown to live in the ghettos and the slums because we set up a system that said we will exclude you regardless of how hard you work. And guess what? All of that was happening right under the nose of the executive mansion, right? West Point is right there. So what ended up happening in 1979? We have been lied to, especially those of us who are the younger ones. We have been fooled and misled that 1979 rights demonstration was about rights. As ironic as it sounds, 1979, the rights demonstration turned riot was never about rights. No, it would be foolish for one to simplify it to it being about rights. And you even hear people talking today that, or that Liberian people kill each other because of rights. Liberian people can bring war because of rights. It's a lie. The 1979 rest demonstration turned rest riot was about the over 100 years of injustice, of the deprivation of economic freedoms. Was over 100 years, was about more than 100 years of suppression of majority of our population. And it took this point, it was at a boiling point. So the situation that happened with rights tipped it over. But don't let anybody fool you to say, oh, it was because of rights that people jump in the streets to kill each other. That is the biggest lie we've been told. And we were even told this in schools, including myself. 1979 rest demonstration turned riot was never about rights. It was about injustice, more than 100 years of injustice. It was about young men and women coming to Monrovia from the hinterland where their families have worked in the mines for so long and could not be paid their fair share. Coming to Monrovia, going and getting themselves the very education they were deprived of. And after that, they were told they would still not be allowed to participate in the economy. of our country. So let's set the record straight, but let's move ahead. I'm trying to give you an understanding as to how we've understood citizenship. 1980, the military coup occurred, and then another operation was set up to exclude and marginalize people from the previous ruling class. Now you see a trend. A trend of exclusion and marginalization has been the only way we've experienced citizenship. Historically, our experience of citizenship. Currently, in Liberia, we are supposed to have a dual legal system, a parallel legal system, where one is now being decimated by the other. We are supposed to have a parallel legal system that has both customary laws and the formal laws, right? The ones that we borrow from the West, the ones that we photocopy from the United States. That's what we call the formal law. But customary law is also legal in Liberia. But what have we done? We've decimated customary law and made our people to believe that it is not part of our existence. In fact, I would argue that customary law is the oldest, longest standing, most robust laws than the ones that we photocopy from the United States that we did not even understand. But because we could use it as a tool of suppression, we brought it in place. Let me tell you what I mean by this being decimated. At the University of Liberia, customary law is an elective course. What that means is the fact that it is optional. Now, how will you be training lawyers? How will you be training the people that are supposed to oversee our justice systems when you only train them in one aspect when we have a dual legal system? So most lawyers in Liberia do not even understand what customary laws are. Your Ministry of Justice has no idea as to what customary laws are. So what have we done? We say the traditional people are primitive country people. Have you ever asked yourself, how in a country that has seen almost 20 years, 2 decades of civil war, how a country that has less than 5,000 police people, how a country that has less than 5,000 military in its army, military men and women in its army, how have we managed to keep the peace in remote places where you cannot even see a presence of security officers? Thanks to customary law. Because our people in customary laws have kept the rule of law in society in balance, that even without a uniformed police or military officer, they've been able to maintain law and order. And this is the same law that we are decimating. Instead of understanding it, improving it, developing it, making it better, we decided to decimate it. Now let me come to dual citizenship. Historically in Liberia, our only experience of citizenship has been by class, gender, and ethnicity. We've never ever built citizenship where it was built on all of us collectively as citizens of the Republic of Liberia enjoying the full benefits and rights of what citizenship should accord. Our citizenship has always been defined on what class you are a member of, on what ethnicity you are a part of, on what gender you are a part of. So we've built citizenship based on divisiveness. The history of citizenship in Liberia has been one that has been based on division and destruction. Citizenship has been used as the most oppressive tool. Citizenship has been used as the tool that has destroyed us, that has divided us, when it is supposed to be the tool that unites us and brings us together. So you ask yourself, why are we here having a debate over whether natural-born Liberians should be even accorded the rights to their own country? How is that debate not foolish? Or we are having a debate about what kind of restrictions we are supposed to put on natural-born Liberians who fled the same oppressive nature of citizenship that actually broke up into forced civil war, ran away. They were stateless. They did not have passports. They didn't belong to any state. There was no way they could prove that they were part of any country. They decided to take up citizenship in the countries that they went, that was giving them shelter and refuge, simply because they wanted to feel whole again. And then you tell them you will punish them. Look, they did not choose to be born in Liberia. Being a natural-born Liberian citizen was not a choice that anybody made. You were born in Liberia to Liberian parents. You are a natural-born Liberian citizen. You did not make that choice. So how can someone sit in Liberia and feel they have the right to put restrictions on natural-born Liberian? It's ludicrous. I'm sorry. I beg to differ. We shifted again. We are using citizenship as another tool to divide ourselves again. We are using citizenship as another tool to destroy ourselves, as a divisive tool again, setting up Liberians in Liberia against Liberians in the diaspora who have taken up other citizenship. We are setting up another recipe for civil war. How could we have forgotten so soon that this is what led us to the Civil War? Let me ask you a simple question. Let me ask you a simple question. There is no political power in Liberia or elected office in Liberia that is decided by Liberians in the Liberians must vote. Why are we so concerned about restricting natural born Liberians from the opportunity of participating? And when you talk about it, what have we done? We've reduced it to being about politics. The only thing you people are interested in is to deprive Liberians from political power. As if to say everybody who has another citizenship is trying to come back to Liberia to come for political power. It's dishonest. It's disingenuous to make the assumption that Liberians who are trying to come back to their country and feel part of their birthright, that you are assuming that they want to come back because they want political power. And even if they want political power, there is absolutely nothing wrong by that. By them being natural born Liberians gives them the absolute right. Who are you to take away the inalienable right of someone who did not choose to be a Liberian citizen? They became a Liberian citizen by acts of nature. They were born to Liberian parents on Liberian soil, so they became Liberian citizens. And you sit down and think by the stroke of your pen, you can take that away? And we are here debating about what type of restriction should be or restriction should not be. How did we get here? The issue of Liberians retaining their natural born Liberian citizenship is not a privilege, it is a right. What we should be discussing is Liberians wanting to hold another passport. We should be discussing it as a matter of economics and not as a matter of politics. In everywhere, every society that you choose, you want to get additional privileges over your fellow citizens, you pay for it. We should be talking about how we can leverage taxation on Liberians who want to have the privilege of having other passports and still retain their birthright citizenship, which they should. We should be talking about how this becomes a new economic engine, because it's clear that most of those Liberians, if not all, have better economic opportunities and power than those in the country. How is this rocket science? How are we not having conversation about how we can facilitate the process of these Liberians coming back home to participate in the rebuilding of the nation? Let's not forget, it was this type of debate that got us to war. The quest to exclude. In 2021, we are having a conversation again about restoring or about, it wasn't even taken away. You cannot take away natural born citizenship. Can somebody please help me understand? How can you take away the citizenship of someone that is natural born? How? It is not possible. We should not be thinking about how to exclude. We should be thinking about how to include and empower. The issue of dual citizenship in Liberia is not the issue of natural born Liberians keeping their citizenship. They already have it. You cannot take it away. You do not have that power. The 1979 Alien Nationality Law was used as a tool of oppression. You all know the story. I don't need to actually tell you. Now let's come to dual citizenship overall, as it includes non-Liberians. I've heard people make this argument that it is racist. The Liberian constitution is racist to bar people who are not of African descent to be, or Negro descent to be, Liberian citizens. Let me give you a little bit of history. I just told you, citizenship in our country has been experienced through the realms of class, gender, and ethnicity. Our free brothers and sisters who escaped the scourge of slavery from the United States and the Caribbean and came to Liberia tried to establish Liberia as a safe haven, as a protectionary place, as a place that was protected from the continuous attempt of people who practice slavery to come back and recapture slaves. Right? That was the whole point of it. This was never brought into place as a result of race. No. This law was not written from the context of race. You need to understand why the law was written in the first place. The law was written from a context of trying to protect people of African descent from roving slave owners who were not satisfied and who were still willing to put up a fight to continue the practice of slavery. And there was a real fear, well-defined fear, that one day again they might show up on the shores. So think about it. Slavery started with them coming to do trade, right? So think about the fact that you started to give them citizenship and give them the same rights as their former slaves. Think about a system where you decided that the former slave master and the former slave will be treated, given the same rights, when the truth is the former slave master have 20 times more economic power, control, and influence than the former slave. because the former slave was robbed of their names, their identity, their culture, their language, their resources. So they had nothing. So this was an opportunity to rebuild. Now, let's bring it today to 2021 and argue why is that clause still necessary. That clause is still necessary because, in my opinion, the conditions for which it was brought into place has not changed. Majority of Liberians still live in abject poverty in their own country, where they are subjected to the abuse from foreigners, simply because they cannot afford justice. Justice is for sale in Liberia because a vast majority of our people are served well by customary law because it is accessible. But we've decimated customary law. So those who are not able to hire your Western educated lawyer to take you to some kind of court in Monrovia, which is very expensive, justice is not for you. So only those with the economic power can afford justice in Liberia. So justice is for sale. I will let you guys know, those of you who are watching and might want to call in to chime in today, we have a number. The number will be on the screen pretty soon. We will be opening it up for some calls pretty soon for us to take some callers in. And we will be reading some of your comments as well so that we can see what we're hearing from you. But this is a serious conversation, in my opinion. So as a result of that, we cannot even agree. We are debating putting restrictions on Liberians, natural-born Liberians. How does that make any sense? Let me give you some examples of countries that have 4 dual citizenship. Armenia, Austria, Azerbaijan, France, Germany, Great Britain, Israel, Somalia, Canada. These are all countries. This is not rocket science because people understand that you cannot take away birthright citizenship. And in Liberia, people like to say, oh, when you go to look at some of these countries, and these are countries that are listed, by the way, that have absolutely no restrictions on their natural born citizen, maintaining their citizenship fully, even if they take up other citizenship. So you are telling me, because a Liberian ran away from Liberia, went to a country somewhere and took on another citizenship, that gives you the right now to make them a second-class citizen by birth in their own country? Is that what you're telling me? You guys are trying to create another divisive culture of 2-tier citizenship, first and second-class citizen. That's what it is. You can tell me as a natural-born citizen, a Liberian who went somewhere, is not allowed to hold certain positions in the country. They're natural-born Liberian, but also they are citizens. It makes no sense. We don't need to follow examples because somebody did it. Our story is different. Other countries have experienced citizenship in a different way. We have experienced it based on class, ethnicity, and gender, which is the reason why we are so divided and still hell-bent on destroying each other. We need to start thinking about ways that we can experience citizenship differently, and it has to be based on equity. No Liberian, look, all of the Liberians who went in the diaspora and took up other citizenship still got their families living in Liberia. Their mothers, their fathers, their brothers, their sisters. So I cannot understand how you got foreigners in Liberia who are not even citizens. They can marginalize Liberia and do whatever to them in any way because you've made justice for sale. But you are afraid of natural-born Liberians, many of whom sold in real market. You are afraid of natural-born Liberians, many of whom sold everywhere. Many of whom live in West Point. Many of whom made farms. Many of whom were paralyzed by the war. You're telling me that you want to make them second-class citizens. Y'all please help me understand. I beg to differ. We will put the numbers up. Like I said, we are happy to take some calls today, but maybe we can put some of our comments here that we can actually read some of our comments. The number is actually on the screen. If you want to call, please hit the number, then call us. We will take you on to hear your your contributions here. But maybe we can take few of the comments. That are coming through. If we can put one of Jerome Gayman say, I have listened to this young man. I am impressed. Thank you, Mr. Jerome Gayman. Emmanuel Jackson say, reverse discriminations in Liberia. Thank you, Emmanuel, for your contribution. Appreciate it. Eddie Clark III says, great initiative, my brother. Thank you very much for your contributions. So let's get back to it. Oh, we still got some comments here. Sam Wolo says 1979 was all about rights and economic crimes, not inequality. It was about monopolizing. It was about monopolies run by oligarchs enriching themselves. I beg to defer, Sam Wallow. You just said it. It was about economic crimes. So economic crimes are not inequality? How is economic crimes not about inequality? If you would deny somebody else access to their just participation in your country's economy, and did that start with the price of rice, or did that start way back before even the price of rice? Was there already economic equality before the price of rice was hacked up? So maybe we should think about it differently. I see it differently. It was not about rice. You say it was about rice and economic crimes. So it's not about rice. So let's see what Bright said. Bright Fanlon Saki said, I do not support your argument. There are two choices, be a Liberian or a foreigner. It's hard to choose between those two. So let me ask you, if somebody was born in Liberia to Liberian parents, natural born, and ran away from the war and was stateless, did not have a passport to even claim that they were Liberian, they could not prove it. And the only way they could have lived in another country for a war that went on for almost 2 decades was to take up citizenship. That was the only choice that they had. Are you telling me you will uproot them and all of their belongings? So what if the country they are naturalized in revoke their citizenship? Because naturalized citizenship can be revoked. What if so they become stateless? The only country your citizenship should not be revoked is the country you are a natural born citizen of, because you did not choose. Nature made that decision for you, my brother Bright. Armstrong Jagba say it is a right, not a choice. I couldn't agree with you fully, my brother Armstrong. Tipla Pupo says, I don't care what they say or do. I am a Liberian. I have a Norwegian citizenship, but I know I am a Liberian and nobody can take that away from me. Thank you for your contribution, Tipla, and I fully agree with you. Nobody should have the right, regardless of what political stripes they wear, to take that power away from you. It is your absolute right. You did not decide or choose to be a Liberian. Nature assigned you Liberia. So for anybody to think that in their political machineries they are able to undo it, that's falsehood. And that is pure baloney, in my opinion. Martin Wehrman Brown says, but a Ghanaian and Nigerian and naturalized can have 4 privileges, but not a natural born Liberians that are denied their birthrights. Let me just stress on that point. So our current constitution say anyone of Negro descent, so any black person can go to Liberia, become a citizen, and have privileges to anything except being president and vice president. Now, the argument we are hearing, they are saying natural born Liberians too should be made a seem and, can run for president. Why are you people afraid of people running for president or vice president? Our country should have the opportunity for the field of choices to expand. Now, if you're taking somebody who got no context to Liberia to bring them to Liberia and make them president, then I got a problem with that. But you are talking to Liberians, the same Liberians who suffer the same things you suffer. Some of them even suffer more than you. Some of you who were the worst perpetrators of the war, we agree to make you, we can call you honorables. We say, let bygone be bygone, right? Let's call you honorables. You turn around and decide that the same Liberians that you chase out of the country, you will deny them and restrict their rights. This is twisted logic. I'm sorry. We can't be defining our citizenship based on exclusion. No longer will we accept that. Some of us will start to speak against it. And you can try all you want to do it, but we'll come right back where we've been. Dada Logan say, what makes it even more laughable and senseless is the people who drove us out of Liberia with their killing are the people who are dead serious to enforce the master-slave form of government our brothers and sisters who came to Liberia brought. Agreed. I will not disagree with you on that, my brother Dada Logan. Patrick Bodo Kennedy say, I support the dual citizenship, but some restrictions should be applied, period. What DeLong and East Coast Liberian pushing is unconstitutional. Please give me the reason why a natural born, let's get this clear, because most people are mixing it up. We're not talking about dual citizenship for anybody. We are talking about dual citizenship for natural born Liberians. So don't just say restrictions should be on it. Please give me the justification as to why somebody who was born in West Point, grew up in West Point their whole life, right? At age 40, ran away to Cote d'Ivoire, ran away to Ghana, and God bless them, they came to America. And when they came to America, they were stateless because they could not even prove that they were Liberian citizens, by the way. They took up American citizenship. They are only member of their family here. They go back to Liberia, and you say to them that you can look them in the eye and tell them, say, yeah, you're Liberian, but you know what? You're only Liberian. It can't go that far. You can't do that 1 year, but you're Liberian. What kind of twisted logic is that? Haven't we learned what exclusion have done to us? So because someone got the privilege to get another citizenship or get another passport, they should be punished. Shouldn't we be encouraging our people to be leveraging privileges and opportunities outside to bring it back home? Isn't that what we should be encouraging? But make sure we legislate the laws. Look, you want to talk about restrictions, don't waste the time on restrictions. We should be talking about the economics of it. And let me tell you the economics of it. If Liberians want to have the privilege of having dual citizenship, natural-born Liberians, let's make it an economic argument that those who in Liberia who don't have that same privilege, those who have that privilege, you should pay for having that privilege. Put a tax on it. Put a dual citizenship tax. You want as a Liberian, you want to hold your Liberian passport. If you don't pay a dual citizenship tax, your dual citizenship is invalid. It's not recognized in Liberia. But you cannot hold Liberian natural-born citizenship. You guys know how far this thing can go? We start giving people the power to tamper with what nature has assigned us that the Constitution says is inalienable. If you want to call in, the numbers are on here, 612-618-9395. Those of you who want to contribute, the phone number is on here, 612-618-9395. You can call and we'll be able to take your contribution. But this is what we've done. Do you guys know the slippery slope that you are playing around with? When you start to open these things up to the politicians of the day, you starting to give them this kind of power that they can sit and decide to restrict natural-born Liberian citizens. This is a horrible mistake. You guys have forgotten what that led us to almost 2 decades of slaughter, to almost 2 decades of us killing each other and slaughtering each other because of this same exclusion. We will not stomach it anymore. It is not okay. It does not make sense. We are talking about natural-born Liberian citizens. It will not make sense. Because if we try to actually do that, now we are creating 2-tier citizens. Over a period of time, you will now have a vast majority of Liberians that are second-class citizens and a second class of Liberian that are, that is a first-class citizen. We can't do that in our country. We already divided enough. We can divide ourselves more. The same nonsense we've done. We sat down in Monrovia. We use our culture as marketing content. The same thing. Let me stretch this out a little bit to tell you how bad this is. We use our culture as marketing content. When we're having holidays and guests and people come visit us, we bring all our culture outside and put it on display for marketing content. As soon as our foreign guests then leave the country, the holidays over, we decimate our culture. Somebody help me understand. I may be crazy. How did we get to the point of regulating French to be taught in our schools, but not any of our own dialects? How did we get to that point? And don't get me wrong, there's nothing against the French language. It's an asset if you can learn French. Good for you. How many Liberians you know that learn French by learning it in school in Liberia? I don't know one. If you know one, let me know. How could we have taught French in our own schools, but we can't figure out how to teach our own local dialects and tribes in our own schools? I think we have a caller here, so let's go to our caller. Do we have the caller?
Yes.
Yes, caller. Go ahead. You're live. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, sir. Caller.
We have to get because the host is saying many of us ran away. All our kids were born here from both mother and father. And they really want to come back home. They are all educated. They can contribute to the society.
In the radio to put it on.
And please mute your phone if you're not speaking. So caller, go ahead.
Yeah, so those next nations that are in power that want to sell off our country because of fear that they are not educated and they don't want anybody to come back to contribute. We need to challenge them at the bottom line.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Thank you for your contributions. And thank you so much. Thank you. Do we have another caller? Do we have another caller?
No.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So let us go back. This is just a caller contributing directly. Let us go back to this argument. How could we? Let me give you an example of how far we got. The reason we are talking about restricting Liberian citizenship, let me ask you the question. Have you wondered Why is the restriction only political? Why are you only restricting political? Why? You're afraid of the beg arrest politics? When election come around, you get money, you buy the people beg around, whatever, you're not getting used to that politics. So you're afraid that other people will come in who got US dollars to do beg arrest politics. Look, you know how many times people left the diaspora and went to Liberia to run for office and they were defeated? So I want to understand, if this was truly about saying we are worried about security and whatever, why is it only political? Why is the restriction only political? Why is it targeted? It does not make sense. Because as it stands right now, Liberia does not have the ability to even enforce its own citizenship laws. We don't even know who Liberians are. According to the UN, up to 65% of Liberians who live in Liberia were born there have no record of their existence. There's no birth certificate, no national ID, no passport. So they really do not exist. We keep saying our population are 4.5, our population are 5 million, our population are this. We don't even know that as a fact. You know the last time we ever did census? So ask yourself, if you a country who does not have the ability to even identify who its citizens are, its citizens that were born in the country, never left the country their whole life, up to 65% of them have no record of existence. If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what is. But let me make a point here, and then we can go back to some of our comments. We are here today where we are Liberians because of hate. We're falling out of love with ourselves. If you cannot find a way to love yourself, I'm sorry for you. You would never fully experience what love is. You cannot appreciate that experience. We've come to a place where we hate ourselves so much that the only thing we can do is to always think about ways to do something negative to ourselves. Always. Liberians, we need to get back to a place where we fall in love with ourselves. We've come to hate ourselves so much where all we can do is run away from ourselves. We want to be everything else except Liberians. We come to hate ourselves so much that we are ashamed of our story. We've come to hate ourselves so much that we are ashamed of who we are. So our problem is not about citizenship or dual citizenship. Let me tell you it today. Our problem is about this division that has plagued us from 1800s till now. And until we can start to change the narrative, and this is a beautiful opportunity to do it, we will continue to experience citizenship through class, race, gender, through class, gender, and ethnicity. So now let me ask you, you restrict certain Liberian citizenship, right? What are you creating? Aren't you creating a class? There will be one class of Liberia. Oh, we actually have a caller? Yes, let's go to the line. I think we have a caller. Let's go to the line.
Yeah. Caller, go ahead.
Hey, it's Leo. What's up, man? It's your boy, Dwalu.
Dwalu, good to hear you, sir. Please go ahead. Let me hear you.
Yo, my man, I'm sitting here and I'm just listening to you. Not only are you making sense when you're driving the point home, but here's the thing. To our brothers back home, if you are Leo fully, as it should be, you just raised the credibility of Liberia because you're adding something good to Liberia. Look, we in the diaspora, we have the means, we have the opportunity to actually improve Liberia. In fact, it's in the government's favor to want us to become full citizens as it should be. No, you have to understand a few things. What's happening in the Ghanaians and the Somalians and other words, people from the diaspora, even though we talk about China today, most of China were birthed out of that poor condition by the diaspora citizens. Yeah. Because it was capitalized upon. So, people they're fighting back and forth. Almost everybody who has been president or top position government for the last maybe 20, 25 years have foreign citizenship. Whether people know this or not, it already does exist. Yeah. So, I don't know what this fear is about. Not everybody's going to run for position. People that don't care about government position. But what you're doing here, you're disadvantaging a portion of your citizens for reasons that they themselves did not create.
Dwalu, I
don't know what you're getting out of this.
Go ahead.
This is not even a fight. A lot of countries around the world have full dual citizenship. Why do you want to deny me from my right? But I tell people this every time. Me, Ensu Opa Dwalu, a good pet name, born to a battle woman. I'm going to Liberia. My tell me, Oba, you're not Liberian, represent. I won't tell that story.
Thank you, Opa.
My Liberian citizenship 100%. Nobody going to water it down. Nobody going to take us on top of it.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much, my man.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Dwalum. Again, he just said, let's get back to it. What you're going to be doing effectively is, again, creating another division. First class, second class of Liberian citizen, and another class of Liberian citizen. If anything, our story, our history has taught us we should be running away from another form of division. You are either a Liberian citizen or you are not. And if you are a natural born Liberian citizen, you did not make that choice. God, and by nature of how your parents engaged, made that choice. You didn't have a say to decide why you became a natural born Liberian citizen. You did not have a choice. Excuse me. But let me get back to the point. Let us get a few more comments here. Anthony, yeah, we can go ahead. A few more comments. Miata Stella Herring say, because of our neighbors' economic and tourism, and for those who learn French, use it to their benefit when they end up in Guinea and Ivory Coast. So Miata, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What's good if you can learn French, but you can learn any of your own. So when you go to the Frenchman country and you say you can speak French, they say, great. They say, but what your own language? What are you going to actually tell them? I don't disagree. But how can you expect to be somebody else without even being yourself? I'm not saying don't learn French. It's great to learn French. And all our neighbors, by the way, are not French. Sierra Leone are not French-speaking country. I agree, Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire are French-speaking country. Let me ask you, some of our most successful people, they don't know how to speak French. Boima Family, Ellen Johnson, Salif, all of them, they don't know how to speak French. But guess what? They became top leaders in French-speaking countries. So it's not a mandatory requirement. But let's get to the lines here. We have another caller. Caller, are you there?
No.
Yeah, caller, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm calling from Spain. It's me, Mario Strickland. On the line of the dual citizenship, and yeah, after on the line of the dual citizenship, my own view of it, I think for Liberian and the diaspora, I don't think it's necessary that the line of dual citizenship, let it be all Liberians that have foreign passports, let it be visa waiver. You don't have to take visa to go to Liberia because they don't stop no one for going to Liberia. You have a passport, you don't have a passport, you have foreign passport, you don't have foreign passport. You want to do business, no one goes after you. But if you accept dual citizenship today, you look at the interest of your country. If you have a state power today, tomorrow, this America wants an interest from you because you're bearing a passport. Will you do it or not?
So let me reverse the question to you, Okola. We've had over 4 Liberian presidents that were holding citizenship of other countries, including the United States, including Barbados. We even had a citizen of Barbados that was president of Liberia. Did it destroy Liberia?
Okay.
They're asking you a question, caller.
That's a question for you, caller.
Yeah, listen. Liberia is a sovereign nation, and we just keep a war. If we accept this dual citizenship now, it has an impact in the future. Look at what happened. The little I had that I went at it. Yeah.
Caller, can you answer the question that I asked? Can you answer the question that I asked? We've had presidents before, more than one, that held other countries' passport, the United States and Barbados. I'm asking you, how did that destroy the national security of Liberia?
Look, it says an impact, and it is. I'm not talking about national security. I'm talking about the country's interest. I'm talking about interest of the country. I'm not talking about national security.
So how did it affect the interest of Liberia?
We have issues.
So how did it affect
the interest? I worked on the viral fee. When she took some money, when she left, she went to America. When the government tried to get her, they told her, no, I was justice and not fit to justice.
So let me just correct you there, caller. That is not true. You are talking about Ellen Cochran.
It affects Liberia. It affects Liberia a lot.
Caller, let me correct you.
People will just come and then if we put them in our system, you put them there as a minister, go on.
Let me correct you there. You're talking about the case of Ellen Cochran. Ellen Cochran was an American citizen, natural born Liberian. The government of Liberia decided to not go after her on extradition. Liberia has an extradition treaty with the United States. They could have extradited her if they wanted her. Ellen Cochran went back by herself. She just went back to the country last year, 2 years ago, by her own self. The government decided to not go after her. So this was nothing about interest of the country. But you haven't answered my question. We had presidents of Liberia before that were citizens of other countries, the United States and Barbados particularly. My question to you is, how did I affect the interest of Liberia negatively?
Well, Leo, it seems to be the caller does not have an answer. Let's move on.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
No, I have an answer for that question. No, let me tell you, at the time you're talking about, it's been many years back. Okay, so if we check it out, you will only find maybe few that have it, and then they still have it under the plate.
You still haven't answered my question. How did it affect the interest of Liberia? All right, caller. Thank you. Thank you, caller. Let's go to some comments here, Anthony. I think we should let that caller go. Again, you're not answering the question. People keep. Let me just tell you today, there are countries. Canada. I live in Canada, right? The Governor General of Canada held a Haitian citizenship and the Canadians. In fact, there are 51 or 52 members of the Canadian Parliament that hold more than one passport. Let me tell you now. In France, anybody can become Prime Minister of France, whether you holding two passports or not. In fact, in France, they have a saying that a citizen is a citizen. Once you are qualified as a citizen of France, there is absolutely no restriction to your citizenship. So we're talking about serious country, then I got more security issues at hand. They can do it. Israel is also the same thing Israel does. Let's talk about country that with serious national international interest. So that argument holds no water. There is no example you can show me that somebody who had a dual citizen became president or prime minister of a country somewhere and the interest of that country was affected. There's no evidence to that argument. Let's go to some comments here. Christopher Lotte Tobasi say, what we need in Liberia is full-fledged dual citizenship. It's not a matter of argument. You're either going to have full-fledged dual citizenship or you're going to create a division by creating two-class citizens. A set of first-class citizens and a set of second-class citizens. Emmanuel Jackson said, I will. Stop spending money in Liberia's economy. We Liberians abroad aren't treated well by our own government. Plus, diasporans' monies end up in the pockets of foreign businessmen. Emmanuel will say, let us not stop. Let us continue to make this argument. Let us continue to make this argument so that we can help educate people. Because like I said to you, as Liberians, the only way we've ever experienced citizenship has been by class, gender, and ethnicity. The same thing we did when we got ready to marginalize women in Liberia, where for a long time they could not even vote. The same thing we did, we took away their land rights. The same thing we said their children, they can pass on their citizenship to their children. But let's read some more Kennedy. Patrick Bordeaux Kennedy say, my man, we already relinquished our citizenship for other countries, so we need to accept whatsoever conditions. I don't know who you're talking about, you, Patrick, you and who relinquished your citizenship. By the way, how can you relinquish natural born citizenship that you did not assign to yourself? How can you relinquish something it's almost like saying to yourself, my man, I decided to relinquish my right hand, or I relinquishing my head. And, you know, you just take my hair off. It's actually okay. Or you are saying because my leg broke, you don't try to fix it, but I will just relinquish my leg since my leg broke. You take it off. We have another caller on the line, so let's go to our line.
Caller, go ahead.
My name is Kefa, and I'm calling from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Go ahead, Safa. Welcome.
Yes.
Caller, go ahead.
Hey, Leo, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Welcome. What's your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Dr. Dick, calling from Atlanta.
Welcome, welcome, and let's
Yes,
hear you. You are live.
I am just asking Liberia, Liberians in Liberia to really emulate Ghana, right? Cause can you hear me?
I can hear
a lot
you.
of echo.
You are live. Go ahead. You are live. You are clear. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Because just by encouraging the Liberian diaspora to really come to Liberia.
So, caller, you are hearing the echo because of your money. Whatever device you are using to watch the show, you have to lower it. That's why you're getting the echo.
Because by encouraging the Liberian diaspora to come to Liberia will improve the.
Go ahead. You're good now.
Oh, okay, myself. How is that? That's better?
That's way better. Go ahead.
Is that better? Great. Yeah, that's better. I said Liberia has to emulate Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And do exactly what Ghanaians are doing. The Ghanaian president, the Ghanaian leadership. It's very, very important. This is why they're really growing, very fast. They're encouraging their citizens to come to Liberia. I know many of them personally. I know some of the African American citizens from Hollywood that are going to Ghana, and I just feel that Liberia should encourage their citizens to come to
Okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
See that?
Yeah.
Can they see that?
Thank you. Yeah. No, thank you. That's a very valid point. And I would say, in fact, Liberians don't even have to try and emulate Ghana. We got a greater incentive because, by the way, I would say our story has been one of us marginalizing and discriminating against ourselves. So if it led us to almost 2 decades of war. So if there's any lesson that we learn, that lesson is supposed to be no more should we use citizenship to divide ourselves. But you're right. We can even use other countries that have used this issue of encouraging their diaspora dual citizenship to come back home. And I keep saying it. Everybody, how many people can be president of Liberia and ministers and government officials at the same time? Why are you people worried about the politics of this issue? But we have another caller here. Let's go back to the line.
Caller, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello.
Go ahead, caller. You're live. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Am I clear?
You are very clear, sir. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, my name is Kefa Duno again. I'm calling from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Go ahead, Shafa. You're live.
Okay, yes. I just want to say a few things. Dual citizenship is not just, making loud more. Okay, because we got to know how to deal with this issue. It's going to either affect that the country negatively or it keeps the country positively. So with the kids, I'm listening to your guest. You kind of comparing Liberia with that of the United States, with that of Canada, with that of France. No, those countries are up to standard than Liberia.
So let me
you don't understand the situation on ground. You got to understand the situation on ground before you try to address these issues. Okay.
So I have a question for you.
They are Liberians that have been intimidated, that are being intimidated, not only have been, but being intimidated by other citizens because of the cash they have, because of cash violence. Let me just tell you this. I'm a U.S. citizen right now, and I'm a natural born Liberian. I do support the dual citizenship, but there should be a restriction,
So
which
let me,
means
yeah, so
dual citizenship should only be for natural born Liberians.
caller, let me
If
ask
we
you,
don't,
first of all,
if
caller,
somebody
can
that
you
was
listen?
born in
Just listen.
Liberia and left the country because of other opportunities,
So caller,
become citizen of another
caller,
country,
you want to talk, you
after
have to
that
listen, you have
person
to listen to.
be
Can you
considered
listen
for
here?
dual citizenship, but
Caller,
not for other, foreigners.
all right, if you can listen, then we
I
have
know.
to let you go. You have to try and listen to. It's clear that you're not even following the show, first of all.
Yeah, Leo, he's not following, but we'll have another caller from Ohio. Caller, your name, where you joining us from?
Great.
Yeah, I'm Joseph Tamai, and I call from Ohio.
Go ahead, Joseph. Your live.
Most of those guys that arguing the way they argue, those are the DeLong followers. Right now, DeLong is saying again, he will put a bill on the floor for debate for the dual citizenship. Pretty soon, you will see them supporting and defending the dual citizenship. So I think you don't have to waste your time arguing with them too much.
All right,
but in my mind, the dual citizenship is very much important. There are Liberians that came in this country. They came with their children very young. Those children were born in Liberia and came here. And their parents have development back home. In the future, if those children go back to Liberia, are we going to deny them citizenship?
That's a very,
for example, I came from Liberia at the age of 45. Will you deny my citizenship in Liberia?
That is the argument that they're making right now, that if we put restrictions on it, that you'll be a second-class citizen, that you'll be able to do certain things, but also certain things you'll not be able to do politically, because they are worried about the fact that people with dual citizenship could challenge them, and in the political arena, right now they're talking about the possibility of restrictions on president and vice president. That's the newest thing that I heard. Again, and don't hold me by that, but we want to start making it clear to people now that citizenship for natural born Liberians with restrictions do not make sense. That is our argument.
Leo, we have another caller.
We have another caller. Let's go to the line there.
Yeah, caller, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah,
hello,
your name and where you joining us from?
Your life.
I call from Washington, Seattle. My name is Manuel Ronell.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the I call from Washington, Seattle.
Yes, go ahead. You're live.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks so much for the program. I really admire you for education to what is issue facing in our country. Yeah. So I really appreciate you guys for so much education you have started. Because pertain to our country. Yeah, I mean, you see, it's not everyone that go to our country who are so rich. I can remember before the war, there were Americans who lived right near Conrad Bishop, up here, like Baba Conrad here. He was black American named Daniels. He made working in Davis. He chose like what was living for whole house, very better, or very house. He very better in. There was one woman cooking for that woman. We go visit him for the preschools. For the day that brought me this country. So, hello?
Yes, go ahead. You're live. We can hear you. Try.
So this man was not working. He chose like brother to go there. And he was there until the war came. Yeah, he bought a little big house, a great house. You see? So I'm telling you, even as sitting here now, I just told one of my co-workers, and they feel interested to go like, well, you are American. He's not rich.
Thank you.
we decide for us to do business with Liberia. By the time they look, they will say, foreigners. If we have a crew, we're trying to organize companies that we have try to open a low company, they help Liberia. I think we want to see our companies, overall our Liberian, all of our Liberians, we don't have nothing. It's poor. So when the government is saying that we carry investors, and we who here trying to convince other people to go to our country, then they say they're talking about and citizen, that citizen, how we us carry investors when they can't allow us to carry and friends to be our investors, especially black people.
All right, caller. All right, caller. Thank you for the call. But just to set the record straight, people of Negro descent, so Black Americans can actually become Liberians. People of Negro African descent can become Liberian, naturalized Liberian citizens as it stands right now. Do we have enough callers?
Leo, too many callers, but because of time, we will go to more comments, and then you can wrap it up.
All right, sir. So let's do some comments here, and then I can wrap it up for the day. All right, folks, we will do some callers, and we got Kaifa God doing Paka says Sam Wolo, don't mind them. He doesn't understand the issues, but making louder noises. Okay. Hey, Martin Wehrman Brown say, I hope you read what was preferred by the government on dual citizenship in a referendum. The dual citizenship preferred was very much discriminatory and has no place in our contemporary society, frankly. Thank you, Martin. We got Tipla Pupo says, Norris J, don't be discouraged, my brother. Build your houses. Nobody can treat you like a second-class citizen. Thank you, Tipla, once again for your contribution. Norris J say, I'm ready to build at least 2 homes in Liberia now, but I have to hold on to see how this process. So, guys, thank you, but this is not even about that. It's not even about building houses. You don't have to build houses to maintain your natural born citizenship. Even if you did nothing in Liberia, this is your inalienable right assigned by nature to you. But thanks to you guys who are thinking about doing investment in Liberia, we encourage it. So I will try to, I will have another comment here from Olive White. Olive White says this is an issue of discrimination, inequality, and borderline hate game of anti-progress and lack of nationalism. Sad that it is politically influenced based on the very restrictions it poses. This topic is more of a national security, human rights, and economic development issue more than anything else. Let's stand against discrimination and inequality regardless of who is committing such a crime. Thank you very, very much, Olive White. That was a very insightful comment. I agree with a lot of the things there. So let's see, do we have more comments here, or we can kind of wrap it up now?
Yeah, that's it for comment, Leo.
Thank you very much, Anthony. And again, once again, thanks to everybody who's joining today. Martin, let me squeeze in Martin. My man Martin Nouvelle. Good to see you, Chief. Martin said, hi, guys. I'm enjoying the discussion and just want to slide in a little illustration. This whole issue of dual citizenship is like a man who has 2 daughters. One got married and automatically bore the surname of a husband, while the other remains single. Does this change the fact that the one who got married is no longer her father's daughter? Hey, that's an analogy by my brother Martin Nouvelle. We squeezed that one in, but let me wrap it up here today. We're already over time, way over time. Samuel Maulo says, almost a lot of many officials of government holding foreign passports. All right, guys, I'll wrap it up by saying, let's get to a place again of self-love. We've descended to a place where we hate ourselves so much that we're willing to be everything else except ourselves. The issue of dual citizenship should not be a political argument. We should not be targeting people based on the politics of it. The issue of dual citizenship should be an issue of how can we make Liberians who want that privilege to hold another passport account for it economically, because it's a privilege. It's not a discussion about whether Liberians have the right to natural born citizenship. No, natural born citizenship is inalienable. It was assigned by nature. I did not decide to be a Liberian citizen, neither did anybody else decide to be a Liberian citizen. We were given our citizenship by nature. So Liberians, let us stop discriminating against each other. Exclusion, class, ethnicity, gender was what led us to almost 20 years of war. We are about to start having a discussion again. Let's make sure we remove class, we remove gender, we remove ethnicity. Let's have a discussion based on equity and ensure that all citizens, once a Liberian is always a Liberian, regardless of what circumstances they find themselves in. As a natural born Liberian, you are a Liberian and should always be a Liberian without any restriction. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the Liberian Dream today. This is the Liberian Dream, where we all will be one-class citizen and no two-class citizenship, because the Liberian Dream should belong to everybody. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the rest of your week ahead of you, and I'll see you back in 2 weeks. Have a good evening.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.